Hey guys, Besa Gordon here. It is time for another episode of Back2Besa. Today we are here with an artist that goes by the name Starda, and he actually just dropped a new project called Starda Party with Ron Browz, and today he's actually in town for the Lil Wayne and Friends Tour. I am so happy to introduce you guys to Starda.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, thanks for coming all the way over
Yeah,
here.
of course, this is my first time out here.
Shut up.
It is. I'm excited.
So, okay, first time in Seattle.
Yes.
First thought when you heard that you were coming to Seattle?
Seahawks playing.
But we're out of season. So you were just like, okay, Seattle.
Like that's what I know about Seattle. Yeah.
So you didn't think about like Pike Place Market or anything like that?
Nah, I actually came to just like explore the city, to be totally honest with you. Yeah.
So are you gonna have any time to explore before the show, you think?
Yeah, I hope so. Like in between now and like sound check, I'm hoping we can just go check some stuff out, get some food.
Okay, well lit, you know, you're like honestly not too far from Pike Place Market right now.
Okay, perfect.
I would say it's almost like a walking distance. For me, it's technically walking distance, but there's a lot of good spots in this area.
Yeah,
that's where they catch the fish and all the good stuff like that.
So it's fresh out here. Okay.
No, I mean the water. The water. They just come swimming in. Shoot. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about the tour in a little bit and why you're actually in town. But let's go back a little bit. How did Starda get into the music game?
Cool. I mean, I've been in music since I was about 6 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, I was rapping at like the cafeterias in elementary
you were that
school.
kid.
I was that kid. Yeah, I was like the freestyle. I was a jokester too.
Yeah.
So I think I was just like incorporating my jokes into the music. And what really kept me going, like every year I would graduate, the next year people would still stop me at the cafeteria, like, yo, can you rap about this? Can you rap about that?
Give me a little vibe.
Yeah, you know? So it was just a really cool way to like just meet new people, kind of just get my personality out there. I was a little shy when I was young, but I always had like dreams of being an entertainer.
So although you were shy, that was kind of like your outlet to
my
where it's
outlet.
like, yeah, like if I'm just sitting and I'm chilling, I'm a little shy, but like when it's on and
When
it's
it's
go
on,
time.
it's on, yeah.
So would you say you were already feeding off of the crowd energy back then?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I love that. I love just being around the crowd, just like watching people react to certain lines. I always felt like, you know, in middle school is when I kind of started like battling people a little bit. And people were always trying to be tough, and I was kind of just like winning off of like personality, funny, witty lines. So I always kind of value with that. I think I carry that on to my music now, to be honest.
Oh, that's so lit. And it's crazy because, you know, back then in elementary, you're not thinking about, oh, I'm shy, but this is where I feel comfortable at.
Right.
You're just doing it, but unknowingly you're continuing to do it, and that's just your comfort spot.
Right, 100%. I was just having fun, honestly.
Okay, so when you were in middle school, you continued rapping, you started battling. What was going on in high school?
High school is when I feel like people from middle school and elementary school, like, you know, sometimes you get split up from elementary to middle, but then they all kind of like met back up in high school. So I just kind of continued. I was the guy in the cafeteria, I was the guy in the hallways. At that point, I started like burning CDs, breaking my mom's computer, trying to burn like 200 CDs. And a lot of like the class projects that I was doing, I would always try to incorporate my music. You know what I mean? Like, especially if it was some kind of like presentation or something like that, I was always the guy on behalf of the group, like rapping about whatever we were learning at the time, like the topic.
Give it like a little flavor.
I had to give it some flavor. We had to stand out. We always passed.
Give me like an example. Can you give me like an example?
All right, so this is about to be a little embarrassing, right? So in high school, we had a math project, right?
Okay.
And this was like the class that was right after lunch. So, you know, I was already like, you know, I'm a social butterfly, right? So I'm like, all right, I don't really want to do the work. I kind of wanted to just keep, you know, playing around, being a funny guy. So one day we had a project, and they had to put us in groups. And I remember the group that I was picked for, they was looking at me like, oh, we got Will. He's not going to do the work, right? So I'm like, all right, I got y'all, right? So I asked the teacher, she was a pretty young teacher. So I was like, yeah, I was wondering, like, you know, you just need to know that we understand the work, right? And they were like, yeah, so I can present that any way possible. It was crazy equations, but I'm like, so I can just like.
Not you getting the technicalities out.
Yo, it was crazy. Because I remember walking in and looking at the board, like, we have to do what? I was late, right? So I asked her, I was like, do you mind if, you know, I make a song to present, you know, everything that we're doing? And she got excited. She was like, oh, that would be great. So I was like, okay. I remember I walked back to the group. I was like, I got you. They were like, well, I was like, you don't have to do nothing. They was like.
They're like, oh, all right, let's see what you do.
Right. So I was like, all you got to do is pick the beat.
Okay.
They picked Lil Mama's lip gloss
Lip
at
gloss.
the time, because that's what was out, right? So I was like, all right, y'all did me dirty with that. But I took the beat, I made a song called Math Class. And the song actually wasn't about the equations at all. It was like 100% about, yo, if this doesn't work, I'm going to fail and going to summer school. Like, that was just the story.
It was the truth of the matter.
It was the truth.
This is where we're at right now.
This is just where we're at. This is my reality. Luckily, though, the class loved it. That was one of the CDs I broke the computer burning. And I presented it to the teacher. She loved it. The whole group passed. And then the CD kind of like leaked out to the rest of the school. So I became like the math class guy, but they were giving me props. They were like, yo, you killed this, you killed this. I ended up on like people's iPods at the time. And I heard the CD like made it to a school in Manhattan. I was like, all right, let me chill before I'm the math class guy, you know what I mean?
I don't want this to be my legacy necessarily.
Yeah. You know, people still bring that up. Like sometimes I'll post something, they'll DM me like, you know, I still got that math class. If you act up, I'm leaking it. I'm like, all right, here we go.
You know what? I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they really do still have it, because people from our generation, at least I personally, take pride whenever I can still find my old CDs that I burned on like LimeWire and stuff like that.
100%. My little sister holds me like hostage. Like, I've seen it in her room. She always takes.
She's like, oh no, I still have it.
Yeah.
You think no, it's right here.
It's right here.
You can't have it, but it's right here.
Right. I feel like I'm like one of the only ones that don't have it at this point.
So basically, you did that song, you were able to pass the class, you didn't have to go to summer school.
Didn't have to go to summer school.
All from using your gift that was just natural.
Yep.
They
had me like shoot a music video in class. So that was my first technical music video at the time.
Now, what did your parents think about your music back then?
Back then, I was literally always rapping. I think they kind of just feel responsible for it. They was always listening to the jams in the car, and I was just like really into like the Mary J's, the Biggies, the Jay-Z's at the time. So then I had a big personality, so you know, they'll catch me in my room kind of like practicing in the mirror. But they were always supportive. My mom always kept me like around the arts, like always like drawing. She was a dancer. My sister and my brother were in dance classes, so I really like found an appreciation for stage performance, even stage design, things like that. So I was always inspired, and it kept me out of trouble. So I think that was another thing that just was like, all right, at least he's doing this and not this. You know? So.
Because there's a lot of things you could have been doing than rapping about math class. Just saying. So, okay, you go through high school, and then you drop your first project.
Yeah.
What was going on when you dropped your first project?
Honestly, I was just happy to have a CD.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't even about being cool or getting fans. It was just something I was doing for me. And I was always making like little albums, and you know, like you said, LimeWire, I was grabbing some beats and just packaging things out that would never come out. I really didn't have like a really great studio to go to at the time, but I ended up recording in a cultural center actually, where I was taking art classes when I was young. And I just remember them having a studio, and one of the teachers was like, oh, my friend owns a studio in Snug Harbor, you should come by. And that's why I did math class. And then I think that's what really like just started my journey as a recording artist. But that was like the only thing because I really did break the computer. So after a while, I couldn't burn any more CDs.
It's a broken computer for me.
Yeah, that really happened. So then I was just really trying to look into like performances, open mics, and just trying to stay around like eclectic people just to keep me inspired, to be honest with you.
I love how that, although, you know, your family wasn't necessarily into music, you kind of already knew what path that you needed to go to get where you wanted to be.
Yeah. I feel like I was always watching things from the outside. Like, I was always paying attention to what was happening to the rappers on the news. I was always paying attention to the type of music that my mom was listening to. My aunt was listening to like Motown. So I always kind of had that like contrast of different styles. And I just always felt like I knew what my destiny was. I always wanted to be an entertainer across the board. I feel like that's what made me the class clown, because I wanted to be an actor as well. I just wanted to be a storyteller at the end of the day. And I wanted to make my story worth telling, so there was a lot of things that kind of just kept me on like a straight path. Like, I don't want to do this. Like that, I swear I was gonna be a star when I was like in school. I was like, oh, I want to date that girl, because you know, if it goes out and she ends up doing something crazy, you know what I mean? Like, just I don't want to go with them to the park if they're gonna do something stupid, because I don't want to be that.
I don't want that to be a part of my legacy.
Yeah, exactly. It was really all legacy at the end of the day. So I feel like I just had a really clear vision. I tried to see, you know, what was missing in the culture. I was always surrounded, after high school, I was always surrounded by other artists. So I was kind of just like picking apart their strategies and how they were promoting themselves and trying to find ways that I could stand out, to be honest with you.
I love that. So basically, you started doing music when you was a child, and as an adult, you've continued to thrive in your purpose, if you will.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, how did you end up touring in Thailand?
Thailand, having crazy friends with some crazy ideas. Shout out to American B-Boy, last American B-Boy. He approached me. I used to intern for him. So when I was young, because I wanted to stay around the arts, I had like 5 internships when I went into college, right? So one of them was film with the notorious B-Boy. And I just always kept in contact throughout the years. So when I finally got my record deal, he was one of the first people I called, like, yo, I want to make this happen. Could you help me out?
Yeah.
We shot a music video. From then, we ended up, he called me to audition for a film, actually. And I think I've been in his films for years, but in this particular film, I think he was kind of just like, saw a little spark in me, like, all right, maybe this kid got something, you know.
A little twinkle, twinkle.
Yeah, a little twinkle, twinkle, you know. Got a little something going on. So he approached me with this idea to do a YouTube series originally called Rapper in Thailand. And I believe it was a concept that he had for himself at the time, but he gifted it to a young lad. And I just wanted to take it as serious as possible. I approached my business partner about it. He thought it was crazy enough to work. And that was my first time really like leaving the States. I haven't even really been too many places outside of New York before the tours, which is why this is my first time here.
Wow.
And we went out there with the champ, 2-time boxing champion, Shannon Briggs. He was like the guest star. And we just went out there and we just had an amazing experience. Started connecting with some great people. And we got the opportunity to go back. We were invited back. And we ended up shooting more films out there, creating some like brand partnerships out there. The people out there just ended up loving us. One of my like little reels went viral that we didn't expect out there. So we were like, okay, people are feeling the music. You know, we went out there for the first ever Rolling Loud in Asia.
Oh, wow.
So that was like one of the main
I bet that was
reasons
huge.
It was huge. It was crazy. That was probably one of the craziest festivals I've ever seen as a guest at the time. And we connected with some DJs, and I was able to perform in some of the clubs, and I just started getting like a really good reaction. We were like, okay, it was crazy enough to work. So yeah, so now I think, what was it, November, we were supposed to go out there for like 2 weeks. And then things went so well, we ended up moving there for 3 months.
To Thailand?
Yeah.
So what was it like living in Thailand versus being back home in New York?
I mean, I love Thailand. It's just like great people, great culture, great food, beautiful places that really just kept me inspired. And I feel like the sense of like competition really wasn't as like tight in Thailand as, because you know, New York, we're super competitive. That's why I'm from Staten Island, New York. So I feel like it was just being an outsider and having something to offer. They just kind of like embraced it, you know? So I felt like I wasn't competing with my neighbor, you know? And like I said, it was just so beautiful that we just stayed inspired. B-Boy kept me in the studio. It was like album boot camp in paradise, you know? But, you know, every time we go, I feel like I learned a little more about myself too, because I was also like isolated a little bit. It was my first time on these tours, away from my friends, away from like my group that I'm usually with when I'm working on this music. So I feel like I just wanted to make them proud to come back with something solid. And I think we did a pretty good job of that.
What would you say is something that you really did learn about yourself the first time you went?
First time I went, I was scared.
So you learned that you were scared?
I learned that I wasn't fully prepared for the lifestyle. I've always felt very confident in my work ethic, but it's like I was humbled, you know what I mean? As far as like, you know, eating right, had to be on the right diet, had to make sure that you had energy to not only get in the booth, but hit multiple clubs a night. Make sure, you know, I'm really having like solid conversations, creating valuable connections with people. So that kind of like sat me down a little bit. Like, okay, I got to work out more. I changed my diet completely. stopped drinking, stopped smoking, stopped doing all of that. So I felt like I just had to really lock in on the discipline aspect of it, because I felt like I worked hard to get myself to this position. But to me, this is just like step 2 out of 100. So I just wanted to make sure, I wasn't messing anything up, and I'm carrying my team on my back. So I wanted to make sure I'm representing my borough, my team, my country, the right way, to be honest with you.
Wow, that's crazy. So like going out there, you were like, okay, no more drinking, no more smoking. Let me get in the gym. I gotta get my stamina up, like all the things.
Yeah, because it was like, I was having a lot of conversations with B-Boy, and it kind of became like, yo, what are you running from? Like, what are you suppressing? Because this is years and years of sacrifices to get to this point as well. So I also feel like, all right, the time that I thought I was gonna have with my family when I became successful, I have less time with my family. You know what I mean? Or I have less opportunities to really create and nurture a relationship, things like that. So it was a eye-opener on like what I was giving up to achieve what I wanted to achieve, to be honest with you.
Did you ever feel like you really were running from something in the end?
I feel like if anything, some of it was the responsibility that comes with it. I meet so many people that want to get into the music industry because they think it's the easy way out, but I feel like it's actually like one of the most difficult jobs in the world because of the sacrifice, because of being in the public eye. And I want to offer something to the culture. I'm not here to just have a good time, make a couple songs, and hope I could party and meet some girls. I really want to provide something to the culture, like the artists that inspired me did for me when I was young. So I really want to inspire more dreamers. I want to inspire more entrepreneurs, educators, just to make sure their message is solid and they know what they're doing it for. Because the thing that kept me going, even when I was having those low moments, I was like, dang, I'm sacrificing this, I can't do this. Even going back home, things are totally different. There's places I can't go. There's people that I can't hang out with no more.
Yeah.
But I know what I'm doing it for.
You gotta protect
so that
that
keeps
circle.
me going. Yeah, 100%. So those are the things that keep me motivated, for real. Just know what I'm doing it for.
Now, I saw that you've created over 100 youth programs across New York.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your philanthropy a little bit and why that's so important to you.
I think it really just stems from wanting to inspire and wanting to show people that, these dreams can come true. I grew up in the projects, in Toll Hill projects in Staten Island. And, sometimes they give us that stigma of the forgotten borough out in New York. So I just wanted to give them something to remember for real, and just, like I said, represent for my people. Because I feel like I've been around so many walks of life. Like, this is just a huge, just packaged out, branded collection of experiences from me and my upbringing, me with my friends. I feel like I represent all of them. Everybody I ever worked for, anybody that believed in me, anybody that told me I could do it, even the people that told me I couldn't do it, they was just kind of projecting what they felt like, they might not be able to do for themselves. So I just wanted to show people that, you can build your own reality. So when it came to the community, it was really, for me, being upset that there was like such a lack of opportunities for people that look like me, people from my zip code, people from my genre. There wasn't a lot of opportunities for hip hop artists, other than like the small open mics. And even in certain areas, they kind of be like, hip hop, I don't know what that's gonna bring, because they're just watching TV.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to change that stigma all around, and I wanted to create opportunities for like people younger than me. I didn't know what my brother and sister was gonna want to be when they grow up. And I didn't want them to go through the same plight of like, they're kicking me out of the venues, they're not listening to my ideas. So I just didn't give up, kept pushing, got into like marketing. And that was just because I heard it can help me promote my music when I was in high school. So I just took that. My first business was a clothing line with some of my friends in the neighborhood. And then I used that to also like pivot into like event production, because I wanted to create a stage for myself. So my whole thing was, all right, if y'all not gonna book me, I'm gonna book myself.
Period. Y'all gonna hear this music somehow, some way. I don't know what you thought this was.
So it started from like fashion shows to galleries to just like vendor markets, but I always make sure I had a little place for my music. So after a while, like the entrepreneurship kind of started to overshadow the music, just because I became the guy that was opening doors in certain institutions, and we did a lot of like the first like main stages or original music stages for like all the Staten Island festivals. And actually a teacher from when I was in high school, that was like one of the class, anything that had to do with music, I was no longer the class clown, like, yo, shut up. listen, they
I
talk
need
about,
this
I need this,
knowledge.
yeah, exactly. They were like, oh, okay, all right. So I think one of the teachers just see me taking it seriously, and then saw what I was doing in the community in my earlier stages, and then they invited me to like speak at one of their classes, and then from there they asked me to be their assistant. They were teaching artists, and they were teaching like songwriting and entrepreneurship, so that was right up my alley. And then after a while, the organization Sundog Theater, they gave me my own classes, and then from there I became like the keynote speaker at a couple of graduations. This word just got around, so I just wanted to apply what I was doing in the community into those schools. And we even did something called like the Man Up program, where we were kind of teaching young men like how to be men, like what that is in society for real. So, those are all things that I wouldn't have been privy to if I didn't have this dream of doing music. And those were the things that, like I said, was kind of just keeping me on like the right path. So I just wanted to kind of, show people, you can still be cool.
Yeah.
You can still be the rapper or the entertainer, but it's all about what you're providing to people. Like if you're asking for fans, what are you offering these fans? If you want to be an educator, what are you offering these students? It's not just going to be the words in the book. Somebody else wrote that book. Like what are you going
Where's
to
your value?
Yeah, exactly. And how are you going to help people find the value in themselves? So I feel like that was really like my inspiration towards all the community work in the schools and working with the politicians out there.
I'm curious to know, our youth, they're dealing with a lot these days.
Yeah.
Like, I thought I was dealing with a lot.
Right.
I could walk to school in peace.
Yeah,
These
I
kids,
feel that.
not so much. Like,
Right,
there was
right,
even
right.
some stuff going on down the street over here earlier
Really?
today. And I was like, that's like 3 blocks from here, right?
Wow,
What would you say to your youth that are from back home and they just feel like, you know what, I just don't know how I'm going to get out of here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to break out. Like, I just feel stuck.
Right. I mean, it's easy to feel stuck, but sometimes you just got to hop out of your comfort zone. A lot of times you're stuck. Sometimes it's circumstances. Sometimes it's just not wanting to leave your friends. And honestly, I never really realized how big the world was. I just know I wasn't making the most out of just like what my city had to offer. Like everybody's traveling and working hard to get to New York City to make your dreams come true. And I'm sitting here living it, and I have all these big aspirations, but I'm not really going out and going after it. So sometimes you got to do the things that your friends may not think is cool, do the things that your parents may not understand, do some things that you just like totally oblivious to, and you're just trying new things and being around new people. So like I was saying, I was going to like some open mics just to get around other artists, seeing how they were attacking the stage, seeing how they were approaching their music, what their message was. And like I said, I have a competitive spirit, but I just love the culture. I just love the arts in general. So I feel like I was really more of like trying to harness, all right, I'm sitting here complaining, but what am I doing about it? You know what I mean? So I say my advice to anybody is just like, don't be afraid to cross the street. Don't be afraid to just get on that bus. Don't be afraid to have some time to yourself and really try to figure out what it is that you want to be around. Maybe not what you want to be when you grow up, but what you want to be around at the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes we feel like we're just stuck into the environment that we're born in, but we're born into that environment, but we always have the opportunity to kind of just step out of it and represent that environment. Like I took pride in going to like these events in my suits and being the young guy and coming back to the projects in that same suit. And though I was complaining about sitting on the bench, I go and sit on that bench just to, so they'd be like, yo, where you come from? I'm like, oh, I was just at this gala. Oh, I was just spoke at this thing for the congresswoman. Oh, I was just at this school. Like, I think it's important for people to know that you could do both and you could be both. You don't have to pick a side. If you're both sides, like in your heart, then you should represent both and represent them well. I feel like I was representing my hood when I was going to all these like public affairs. And I was representing the public affairs when I was going back to the hood and showing people like, yo, there's a little more out there, So I think you just got to jump out your comfort zone. Even like what I'm doing with these tours right now, there's no comfort zone.
There's no safety net.
There's nothing, you know what I mean? Like it sometimes get hard to adapt, but I found that that's the exciting part, you know what I mean? Like waking up, not knowing if the plane's gonna be there on time, getting on the plane.
Or if the brake pads will work.
Or if the brake pads will work, getting into a city that you've never been into, meeting amazing people. I feel like that's like the adventure at the end of the day. I'm trying to have some cool, I'm like the cool uncle. So I'm just trying to have the cool uncle stories at this point, you know what I mean? So I just hope people continue to search for what their purpose is. And I feel like that's why I try to take so many different forms of storytelling when it comes to what we have going on, like with the label and everything. Like we have the album, but we also have the films, but we also have the books, but we also have the podcast, but we also have the events where you could just come and immerse yourself into these experiences and find where you fit in, and might find like, you know, the new friend that's also looking for another person to tag along with them because their friends don't get it. That was like a big motivation for me when it came to event production. It's like, you might meet your producer here, you might meet your designer here, you might meet your writer here, you just never know. So it's just kind of opening those spaces and making sure people that, again, like looked like me or was from my zip code or from my genre or whatever the case, knew that we're all in this huge just pool of arts. You know, like I'm a rapper, but that's just, you know, a subgenre of me being a music artist, which is a subgenre of me being an entertainer. And then I can't do anything, like I can't drop my project unless I have an artist to do the cover art. I can't get in the video and look fly unless I know somebody that has a sense of design. Like everybody, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like we all work together, so you just gotta find your tribe for real.
No, absolutely. So let's move back into like more of the music because we do have a little bit of time left. But I want to say it was 2013, and you dropped a women empowerment project during Women's History Month. Why was it important for you to do that?
I grew up around a lot of women, and during my like adventure and journey of trying to get all this done and being an entrepreneur, I was surrounded by a lot of like women in business that had similar goals, that was just trying to build up their brands and kind of just felt like they were being shut out in certain aspects of the industry. So I just kind of wanted to, you know, let them know that they were seen, give some advice from my experiences as well. I feel like, you know, in the hip hop culture, sometimes women get like, you know, over sexualized and things like that. And I feel like they don't have to call that or that be the only form of women empowerment. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to kind of get like the conversation going and have it come from like the cool, smooth guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it was also just like giving my niece, my sister advice for like later kind of thing.
Like, let me just put it on an album and you can just put that on replay.
Yeah.
There you go. Here's a gift. Okay, so right now the album that you have out is Starda Party.
Yeah.
And it's done with Ron Browz.
Yes.
How did you guys link up?
B-boy again.
Hey.
Yeah, shout out to the B-boy. He's pulling the strings right now. Yeah, one day, you know, it's actually right before we were going to Thailand. And I was like, you know, I want to go out there with a new record. I want to go out there with something like just fresh. And I asked him like, yo, you know, you think you could get me a feature from anybody? Because he's been in the industry for years. He's been working with Ron for some years. I knew he was gonna say Ron, but I was like, you know, anybody you think?
I mean, sometimes you have it in the back of your head, and I feel like that's a way of manifesting. It's like, I want you to say this, so I'm gonna think that you're gonna say this, and then they end up saying it, and I'm like, it worked.
Because one time years ago, he brought him to one of my shows, but they had just missed my set, so I didn't really get to flex the skills, you know? But I just felt like it would be good energy. I like to make fun records. He's notoriously and legendary known for like his records like Pop Champagne, you know, producing Ether for Nas, I Get Crazy for Nicki Minaj, Whip Your Head Boy for 50 Cent. Those are all records I love. So I think I just wanted to be a part of that legacy, get some of that in my catalog. I didn't think I was gonna get a whole album and tours with him at the time, but the song did so good. It was Ola was the opening song. And we recorded Ola and Reach For It that first day. I brought it to Thailand, in a land where they didn't understand the lyrics, but they was grooving to the music.
They were feeling the music.
Yeah. So we were like, okay, we got something going on. Came back from Thailand and it started doing good in the States, and then we did a American tour. We got on the radio all over the country, things like that. So I was just like, all right, we got something going. And then we decided to just make, you know, a project together and kind of just bring the fun back to the industry. You know, everything's kind of like, you know, there's a lot of violence, there's everybody's trying to be cool. We just wanted to bring the energy that he brought to the game when he dropped Pop Champagne. It was refreshing, it was just something you could have fun with. in the clubs, you know. So we just wanted to bring that back. So I was like, all right, we about to start a party, you know. And
I
just went
love
from there,
that. Let's get the energy going all year round.
you know.
So really quick, we didn't really talk too much about your sci-fi adventure comic series. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's actually titled after the label Banks and Roses Society, Bars Productions. And then just another crazy idea that we have with our friends. Shout out to Sean MacArthur. He's an independent comic book company from Staten Island as well, Divided District Studios. We was talking about doing the book for a while. I had a bunch of different concepts. Actually, on the way here, I got a copy of the final draft and just like read it on the way here. So I'm very excited about the project. And I'll remember you forever because it's there. But
I'm part of the day.
but it's kind of like along the lines of like what I was saying before, kind of just like trying to protect the integrity of the culture and protecting like what we call the rhythm in the book of just like positive people, creatives, entrepreneurs, just trying to like really keep the world together because media is a very powerful thing and we just want to keep it positive and inspire people to do good and inspire people to find their dreams and find their tribe, like I was saying. And there's so many like negative things going on that, you know, I'm actively battling it. We're trying to make fun records and all of that and not kind of just like dive into what the industry would like us to do or what people are expecting when they hear hip hop nowadays. You know, like you said, the kids was going through a lot. So we just wanted to make something a little more fun for them. And the comic books has been in like a part of the hip hop culture for a while. So we just wanted to like just bring some nostalgia back and kind of just fix things, get it to where it was, you know.
So is it like a comic book album?
It's going to be a series. So right now the first issue is going to be out, I believe, next month. And then I think we're going to have the following issue come out like maybe early spring of next year. But I'm excited. It's starring me and one of my childhood friends, Frankie Face. We got the deal together. And we just kind of like immortalized our friendship and our wacky adventures. But it's crazy. We got like, you know, multi-dimensional travels and there's a talking cat and snail. Like this whole thing going on.
Talk about the ultimate way of being creative.
Yeah, I'm really just trying to do everything I wanted to do as a kid.
Isn't that what life is about, though?
It is what life is about.
Like, you dream it as a kid, you hone in on it, you're like, this is what my purpose is going to be. And as you're an adult, you just keep doing the thing to get you to that next thing that you've always wanted to do. And it kind of keeps you on that same right path, you know?
Definitely.
Speaking of the things, you are actually in town right now because you are on Lil Wayne's Lil Wayne and Friends Tour.
Yes.
How did you get on that?
Shout out my man Livio, shout out Rich Penton, B-Boy again. We were doing so well with the other tours, and I'm big on performance. Like, that's really where my heart is. And I just remember complaining one day in Thailand, like, I want to do more shows. So we're doing a lot of promotional tours. So I want to do more shows, and they just started cooking some stuff up. We got presented one opportunity that didn't work out, and I think they just like, you know what, we're gonna take care of you. We're gonna try to see if we can hook you up with something else. And they were like, oh, what about Lil Wayne? And I was like, yeah.
Like, what do you mean, what about? Like,
Wayne?
yes.
Right. So I hopped on that, and I thought it was just gonna be like 1 or 2 shows, but it looks like we're gonna be rocking out for a little while. Also got some shows with like Ludacris coming up, T.I., Soulja Boy, Bow Wow. So it's just cool to kind of just watch the people that inspired me rock out.
My goodness, that's so amazeballs. Okay, and then also you have your Starda Party Festival tour.
Yeah.
What's going on with that, and when does it start?
So right now, my tour is in collaboration with the Wayne Tours and the other tours, and then we're also going to be hitting some colleges in the fall. And then we're not totally sure, but we might do the UK, but I know I have to go back to Thailand. I have a show in Bangkok actually on June 1st. So we're gonna be leaving for that in a couple of days. So it's just like an accumulation of all these different days and all these different areas. We've been on tours nonstop from April of last year. It's the Swag Dirty tour, and now it's the Starda Party tour. I'm thinking that's probably gonna run until 2026.
Okay, and then we have a couple minutes left. So really quick, you're also working on a film?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So we have a few films coming out right now. The main one that we focused on is the Swag Dirty one. That's a brand that came up with like years ago, what my friends really came up with years ago. And we just kind of like stuck to the code, and I made it, I actually titled that the Women Empowerment Project, and it's just something I say in all my songs. So I think one day me and B-Boy was just kind of talking, and he came up with this concept of kind of just like everything we've been through in tour, and kind of like watching my growth and watching me become this man entertainer and just like growing, learning all these lessons. So I think we just kind of channeled all of that into this movie, but I never thought that we'd be shooting a movie in Thailand. You know what I mean? Huge like language barrier. The whole cast speaks Thai. The film crew speaks Thai, but the story was still able to connect. We was having a lot of fun on set, so I'm really excited for that project.
That is amazing. Well, let me see, really quick before we get out of here. If you could tell 13-year-old Starda anything, what would you tell him?
Pretty much that you were right and just keep going. And, you know, maybe even work harder and try to learn some more so you can provide. Because there was some times I was like doubt myself, and not on a skill level. It was just like, oh, is the universe going to grant me all my wishes? But it's just like, just keep going, you know what I mean? Like, just keep working hard, stay yourself. And, you know, who knows if I would have found the studio a little earlier. Like, there was sometimes I miss opportunities to beat myself up, but I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and that was part of my journey too. So, you know, just always have confidence in yourself. Don't worry about it. Then everything happens for a reason. Literally everything happens for a reason. And you got way flyer than you thought you was gonna be, I guess.
It'd be like that though. Okay, and then anything else that you want your fans to know before we get ready to get out of here?
Definitely have some more albums coming out.
Oh yeah, say it right in that camera.
We got some more albums coming out. I should have at least 4 more projects by the end of the year.
Okay.
So we're gonna have about 3 movies out by the end of the year. And just keep being y'all. Stay motivated, stay inspired, keep trying to do things that you've never done before. This crazy kid from Staten Island with a dream could do it. You could definitely do it. And yeah, start a party and follow One Starda on Instagram, of course. That's one STARDA for the rest of my journey. banksandroses.com for all of the merch, the book, the information on the films. And yeah, I'm gonna probably be here for the rest of y'all lives. So I hope, you know, you enjoy the ride like I'm enjoying it.
We just getting started.
You know?
All right, you guys, look, Starda, I want to thank you so much for popping over here. You just hopped off the plane and came straight here, so I appreciate you making some time to pull up on us.
I appreciate
In the meantime, and look, depending on when you guys see this, hopefully you have an amazing time at the show. If you are in any of his upcoming cities that he's going to be in, make sure you grab your tickets before the show sells out. But until next time, look, make sure you guys grab Starda Party, make sure you guys go to the festivals that are coming up, and you guys already know what I'm going to tell you to do. I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day. And of course, keep that energy high.